Good evening, class. I hope everybody had a great weekend, wrapping up week 5 stuff. Um, we're rolling through or getting ready to um, talk a little bit about, give you an overview of week 6 and our next essay assignment and the quiz too that's fixing to be coming up and everything, all that good stuff. So I do have many essays left to grade from Essay 2. So I hope to have a good bit of those graded throughout the week, and I hope to have all of them graded by this time next week, if not sooner. It was sort of a busy week as it relates to grading. I had exams coming in from my 1102 class, 2 sets of those. I had to finish up some grading essays in those particular classes, and then I had essays coming in from other 1101 courses in person and some 1010 courses. So I got a good bit of grading still left to do as it relates to this class, but like I said, hopefully by the end of the week or at least by Monday next, you should have a grade for your essay too. Sort of what this is going to be is really an overview for week 6, what you need to be, reading. Um, we're going to look at the essay 3 topic. The genre there is going to be cause and effect, and we're going to talk about that here momentarily. I'm going to be sending out some stuff, if not today, definitely tomorrow, that's going to be helpful not only for um, that particular essay. It's going to give you some additional essays to look at to sort of get you, started thinking in that direction. It's going to give you, I hope, some helpful hints on top of the stuff that's in our textbook. The other thing is, I'm probably going to send out um, some additional um, information about quiz 2 as it relates to pronouns and pronoun antecedent agreement. Your book, your e-text, has some good information toward the end. If you look at the text, page numbers as it relates to that. I've also uploaded some handouts that would be very helpful. So um, let me get to the point here where I can share this page, and I will sort of explain everything what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Okay. So if you go back to your lesson page, you should see that week 6 is already open. I sort of give you an overview here. The pages in our e-text that deal with cause and effect, which is basically the genre of essay 3, start on pages 119 and go through 122. The information about your pronouns start on pages 238 and go through 243. We do have a Wiseman reading, A Earth Without People. Again, if you want sort of a professional looking compare and not compare and contrast, but cause and effect piece of writing to look at, that's something I would definitely look at. Tomorrow, I'm going to send out probably later before I leave today. I'm going to send out some information about our virtual tutoring session. If anybody can join that for tomorrow, we may look at a little bit more at this Wiseman piece. So if you're planning on joining the tutor session tomorrow, please have a chance to look at that Wiseman piece. If you click, again, the overview, essay 3 information, we're fixing to pull that up. Pronoun usage, again, if you click here, it's going to take you to a page that talks a little bit more about pronouns. the different types, right? Personal pronouns, you have subjective, you have objective, you have possessive, interrogating pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, you have indefinite pronouns, those that are plural, those that are singular, the one words, anything that ends in one, the body words, anything that ends in body, the thing words, anything that ends in thing, and others like each, either, neither, those that could be plural, those that could be singular or plural. You have your intensive or reflexive pronouns. And then this goes through and gives you some examples. And I'm thinking, yes, you do have some exercises. If you want to try those out, this would be a very good study guide. If you want to, try them out, even though there's not an answer key. But what you can do is, go through these as many as you can. There is 50. It's up to you whether you want to do all 50 of them. But I would say, maybe do every odd or every even one. And if you're having issues, or if you want to know if you're on the right track, then send me an email and say, hey, this is what I did, and just, give me your answer, and I'll, check it and make sure if you got it right, I tell you got it right. If you got it wrong, I'll let you know maybe some other hints that you need to look at. So that will help you for the upcoming quiz. And we'll talk a little bit more what the quiz details here momentarily. So that's one thing that you probably want to be mindful of. The other is the actual pronoun antecedent agreement, which again, it gives you the singular to plural, sort of gives you an overview. It may overlap with some of the stuff, some of the information on that previous handout. But this is, again, this really focuses on the pronoun antecedent agreement. And as you can tell here, a personal pronoun takes the place of a noun. An antecedent is the word, phrase, or clause to which a pronoun refers. And all of the following examples, the antecedent is in bold and the pronoun is italicized. So we will talk a little bit more about this possibly during tomorrow's tutoring session. If you want to sort of go through some of these and look at some of the examples. I'm not sure. Yeah, this one doesn't really have any exercises to do. There's some exercises, I believe, in your textbook. So if you want to try to tackle some of those. Really, the general rule with pronoun antecedent agreement is sort of like the same rule we had last week with subject-verb agreement. Remember, with subject-verb agreement, if you have a singular noun, you need to have a singular verb to make those two things agree with each other. If you have a plural noun, you need to have a plural verb to make those two things agree with each other. With pronoun antecedent, it's sort of the same way. If you have a singular pronoun, its antecedent needs to be singular. If you have a plural pronoun, then its antecedent needs to be plural. Now, obviously, there's some exception of the rules for both the subject-verb agreement and the pronoun antecedent. That's why I give you these handouts, because it talks about some of those, what they call pitfalls or exceptions. So you want to be careful with those and make sure that you're avoiding them, not only when you take the quiz in another week or so, but also when you're writing your essays. Because I believe, if I can pull this up, your next quiz, grammar quiz, is going to happen on October 10th. Or basically, that's when it's going to be due by, is October 10th. Which October 10th, really, as you can tell, today is the 27th of September. So we have the 3rd. The 10th is the next Sunday. So basically, you have about nearly 3 weeks to prepare for quiz 2, which deals with the grammar that we looked at last week, subject-verb agreement, and the grammar that we're looking at this week, which is pronoun antecedent agreement. If you look to, and I think it's probably more or less my goof, which is going to be maybe beneficial to everybody. If you look really in this week, I don't really have a sort of an assessment or an assignment due. largely it's because you do have the quiz in about 3 weeks. But also during that same time, on the 14th, which is basically what's going to be considered midterm of the semester, if we look at our assignment for the next essay, is going to be due on Thursday, October 14th. So you got two things sort of relatively due in a close proximity of each other. So if you recall, with the last two essays, we did have a peer review, usually the Sunday or so before the actual essay was due. In this case, I didn't really schedule one. Of course, don't freak out. I will, at this point, I'm not going to necessarily add a peer review on here just for something for us to do. If you want to send drafts to me in Smart Thinking, well, you have this entire week to send us drafts because there's really nothing due on Sunday. If you want to sort of give yourself a sort of a tentative deadline on your own, just send me a draft and send Smart Thinking a draft by this Sunday. It won't necessarily be graded as a peer review grade, but that will sort of kind of keep you in track of thinking there's something due this Sunday, because I don't want to have nothing due, let's say this Sunday, and we get closer to something else that is due on Sunday and you forget. So I just don't want you to sort of lose track just because there's nothing officially due on the 3rd. That means you don't have to submit anything unless you just, you want to take a break this Sunday. And that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, this particular gap between the quiz and the midterm, I think either I did that purposely, and I just can't remember when I started making this syllabus and planning for the course back in July or August, or it's just, my goof, and hey, it's going to be an advantage for everybody involved, because that'll give me enough time to sort of get caught up on some of these grades, because I got a lot of, like I said, I got a lot of essays and tests still left to grade. So either way, you do have an assignment to be working on, right? You can be studying and preparing for quiz 2, which is going to be on, due by the 11:59 deadline of Sunday, October 10th. You can start drafting and sending drafts, like I said, to me in Smart Thinking, which is going to be due by Thursday, October 14th by 11:59. And we're sort of considering this because really this is going to be week 8. The official day of midterm is the 14th. In lieu of actually having like a midterm exam, Essay 3 is sort of like that midterm paper. The 14th is also the day that I'm going to have to send in the midterm grades, or basically the second Blackboard checkpoint. Remember a couple weeks ago we had the first checkpoint. If you had a grade below 70%, chances are you might have got a phone call, you might have got an email, you might have got some snail mail, you might have got all of that above, sort of asking what the deal is with your grade. I'm hoping between that checkpoint and the one coming up in about 2 weeks that your grade is increasing and not decreasing. That's our hope. Otherwise, October 14th is going to be sort of that soul-searching moment for a lot of folks. Meaning if your grade hasn't really improved to the point where you're 70 or higher, if you got a 69 or lower, you might want to think about possibly withdrawing or dropping this course, because whatever you've been doing for the last 2 months is just not working in your advantage. And the last 2 months of the course, or basically the last 7 weeks of the course, stuff is not going to get any easier. If anything, I wouldn't say it's going to get any harder, but it will get a little bit more demanding of your time, because we're getting into the research aspect of the course. Especially when we get to the end of October, beginning of November, we're doing nothing but the research project and research paper, and also getting ready and talking about your Proctoru final exam, which if anybody has had an internet course before from us, you've probably had to take a final exam using Proctoru. If this is your first time and you haven't used Proctoru, I will be sending out information as it gets closer to the first week of December. So let's look at Essay 3, which is cause and effect. The format is basically going to be the same. MLA 9 double space Times New Roman 12. Some of y'all are still missing some points or losing points because you're not typing your essay in the correct MLA format. Remember, I sent out stuff about the MLA format during the first week of our semester. It went to your Coastal Pines student email account. So you might want to double check to see if you still have that. Otherwise, I mean, you can always do a Google search for various templates and information about MLA essay format. You can do a YouTube search for it. Your book may have some information, a little bit about MLA. This should have been a format that you used while in high school. Your actual Microsoft Word has a MLA template built in. If you go up to where it says File and hit New and type in MLA and hit Enter, it's going to give you 3 papers. I would pick either the MLA style research or the MLA style paper. Either one would be acceptable. You double click on it, you hit create, and basically it's telling you what you need to put. So where it says your name, that's where your first and last name goes. Where it says instructor name, that's where my name goes. Course number, that's where your English course number goes. The date, I would use the date that the actual paper is due. Click up here to put your last name. This is where a lot of folks is losing points, is they're not putting their last name here, or they're not putting last name and page number. Well, if you click here and just backspace this up, put your last name, and then hit this X button, you're going to have your last name and page number, and it should go through the remaining bits of your paper. You may have to do it on page 2 just to make sure, because sometimes it will do the first page, but it won't do the second. The other thing is title, subtitle. Some of you are not putting titles that are creative and reflect the writing to come, right? You're just calling it essay 2. Well, everybody has to write an essay 2. That doesn't really tell me much of what's in paragraph 1, what's in paragraph 2. So it's like going to the movies and you're going to see an untitled movie. That's no fun, because you don't know if you're going to get gypped or ripped off by spending $20 just to go see a movie called Untitled. It's the same thing. Essay 1, essay 2, yes, I know it's essay 1, essay 2. Everybody in my other classes have to write an essay 1, essay 2. So what? What's the title? What is the writing? How is this going to reflect your essay to come? Give it a title. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a complete thought, but it needs to be, you need to have a title there. It needs to be, besides essay 1 or narrative or descriptive or essay 3 or cause and effect, or, some folks give me this. They just don't even have a title. And that's just, that's even worse to some degree, because you could be writing, about essay 1 back at this point, because we don't know what the title is, because there's nothing here to reflect the writing to come. So make sure you have a title. If you read all the rest of this, this is basically Microsoft Word, at this case, hasn't got up to date. They don't realize that we're actually 2 editions ahead of the 7th. Good bit of the information in here if you actually wanted to read about what MLA is. A lot of this stuff still holds true, even though we're at the 9th edition. But what you would want to do is basically highlight all of this and get rid of it. And then when you start typing, everything's going to be in the proper format. You're going to have double spaced already. Your margins are already going to be built in as 1 inch. And you're also going to be in Times New Roman 12. I can tell if you're double spacing or not just by highlighting your stuff and going to paragraph. If it doesn't say double here, then you're not doing what you need to be doing as it relates to MLA style. Same thing is I can highlight it to see what font size you're in because it's telling me right there. Again, if you're using something different, then you're not using MLA style. So this stuff is built into your Microsoft Word. It's free. Use it. It will save you a good bit of points on your final draft grade. Okay. So running through that a little bit, let's talk about Essay 3. So again, this one, the only really the difference besides the genre, because instead of being a narration or descriptive, we're doing cause and effect. The length of this one needs to be 4 pages, not 3. We're going up 1. And we're adding, another 250 words to that 750 word count from the previous 2. So it's either 1,000 words or 4 pages. Whichever one comes first for you is what you need to follow. So if you get to page 3 and you're at 1,000 words and you said everything you need to say, stop. That'll be the time to start sending drafts to me in Smart Thinking. Then we can sort of determine whether you need to cut out additional words or add some more, or just leave it as it is as it relates to the word count. If you get to the bottom of page 3 and you only have 825 words, then chances are you need to go to that page 4 to get all of the information into this particular essay. Keep in mind this due date. It's not a Sunday, it's a Thursday. So that's why we're talking about it now, because we're nearly 3 weeks out. So in other words, we're about 20 days, 21 days before this thing is due. If you watch this video, if you read this handout, you know when this thing is due. Everybody in this course now knows when this is due. It's due Thursday, October 14th by 11:59. There will be a drop box just like the last 2 essays. You're going to do this same thing, upload the paper. So I shouldn't have anybody come up, on the 13th or the 14th of October and what's due? I didn't know this thing was due. Yes, you did. If you paid attention, you known this thing was due 21 days ahead of time. So I don't want to hear that excuse, I didn't know when it was due, when everybody had the same opportunity to watch this thing, listen to me. And even if you didn't want to watch or listen, everybody can read here. You can download this and read it, and it says the same thing on your screen as it says on mine. October 14th, Thursday, 11:59. Because again, I do have some folks in all my classes that their grade is really below a 50 in certain aspects. I have a couple students, or I know I have one in one of my classes that's sitting on a 7 as their grade. That's it. They have a 7% in the class. I have some that have 0. And the reason why some of these have 0s is that we are this is 6 weeks into the semester. They haven't even turned an assignment in since week 1. I don't understand what they're doing or what they're thinking. They're not answering emails. They're not getting help. They're not using Smart Thinking. They're just not turning anything in. They're just logging in long enough to see that their grade is still at a 0 and logging out, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I would suggest, honestly, if your grade is probably like 50 or lower, you probably really just want to go ahead and withdraw the class. And you're going to have to take the responsibility to withdraw yourself, meaning you're going to have to go to your high school coordinator, talk to them and say, hey, my grade is too low. There's no way I'm really not going to be able to pull it up, because we can't make up work. We got to keep moving on. We can't really slow down. Or, you're going to have to go to the college register. I can't drop you unless you make that request. And if you're dual enrollment, you have to definitely go through your high school coordinator. I can't drop you whether you make that request. You have to get them to drop you. Otherwise, if you don't take the initiative and get yourself dropped, or if you don't ask me to drop you, then each week when you don't turn something in, the 0s are just going to keep adding up. So basically meaning when it comes to December and the final grade checkpoint is due and your final grades are due, then your 0 that you carried on or carried from week 1 is going to be there, week 16. So you're going to get a 0 in the class. And if you got financial aid or student loans or hope, it's going to have a serious impact on any type of aid that you get from here on out. Because generally the consensus is, if you're not really doing anything for my class and you got a whole lot of other classes, like 2 or 3 other classes, chances are you're probably not doing anything there. So it will really wreck 1 0 or 1 F on your GPA will do you a good bit of harm. But if you get multiple Fs from courses, your GPA is going to be, well, they don't really give negative GPAs, but if they did, you'd be in the negative range at that point. And you'd probably be on academic probation as it relates to your student aid, financial aid, all that stuff, which is, not very good to have, because when you try to come back in January, they're going to say, well, because you have so many Fs in these courses, we can't give you any aid because now you're on academic probation. You can, continue to go to school, but guess what? You're going to have to pay it out of your own pocket now, or, borrow student loans, which that's going to be problematic, can be problematic if you don't know how to control them. And you're going to have to get your grades probably back up 3.0 or higher to be considered for financial aid again in the future. So you'll probably have to go a couple semesters where you're actually having to pay out of pocket and, really digging in deep to get those grades back up. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the aid. And I don't want that to happen to anybody, but if you don't send in work, if you don't get help, if you don't answer phone calls and emails, there's not much I can do on my end if you're refusing to get the help. All right. So topic, an action and reaction. So we're looking at this African proverb here. It says, do not look where you fell, but where you slipped. Clearly, as humans, no one among us is perfect, including you and I. As best we try, we all live imperfect lives. For that carrot of perfection is always an arm's reach away, dangling in front of us, mocking us to come closer, closer, reach, and it moves a bit more. There has to be a cause and effect relationship happening in our lives, an action and a reaction. With that in mind, think about a time where a cause or action on your behalf snowballed an effect, reaction, that changed the direction of your life. Write your cause and effect essay on that experience. The good or the bad in that experience should be embraced as a learning episode, not a chapter in one's life judged. For again, as human, we are all tend to slip and fall at different times in life. And generally, we all get up, dust off, and assess what we could have done to avoid our tailbone from hurting next time. In other words, we are all our worst critics. So we should approach the essay by focusing on the action and reaction aspect, not the judging aspect of among one another, since we are not perfect beings. So again, think about a cause, an action, and an effect, a reaction that's happened in your life. That's either changed your life for the better, or that kind of changed your life not for the better at the time. Again, this is up to you of how personal you want to get. You want to be careful because we're focusing on the cause and effect. We're not creating another narration here. You can add a little bit of narrative and you can add a little bit of descriptive. But again, this paper is going to be a little bit different than the last two. Not just in word count and length, but it deals with compare, or it deals with cause and effect. It deals with an action and a reaction. I was showing my in-person 1101 course earlier this morning. If you're sort of tired of writing sort of about yourself, or you don't feel comfortable about putting yourself out there with this particular paper, What you can do is, if you want to use, if you want to write on a different cause and effect topic, this is what I suggest to do. If you go to Google and put in cause and effect essay topics, you're going to have bukus of pages of websites that you can find additional cause and effect topics from. So let's just look at this one. Here's 75. Now be careful. Some of these are paper mills that are going to try to sell you a paper. Do not buy a paper from these things. One, it's cheating, and it will be, flagged in plagiarism, and you get a 0 on it, which you don't want. Two, they're going to want a debit or a credit card or a check account. So if you are foolish enough to give them that, you may or may not, one, get a product that's really up to standards, or two, they're going to clear out your bank account and you're never going to be able to catch them. So be wary of that. What these particular sites are good for are giving you additional topics that you can look at for a compare and contrast. Now, some of these are fit for middle school and high school students. Here's some for college. Here's some that, say fun cause and effect essay topics, other simple topics. You can do like a historical cause and effect. It gives you a little bit more information on what a cause and effect is. You can kind of look at this particular outline. What I'm going to show you, or what I'm going to send out here, if not later today, tomorrow, also gives you an outline of 2 ways that you can approach this particular essay topic. One, you can focus just strictly on the causes, or 2, you can focus strictly on the effect. That would make a little bit more sense once I send your particular class that email that does talk about your cause and effect. So be on the outlook for that in your email. Like I said, it'll be either later this evening or definitely tomorrow. And it gives you a couple other essays to look at as it relates to the cause and effect essay. That will be beneficial and helpful as you begin to draft and finalize essay 3. This is just one particular website. As you are probably going to notice, a lot of these topics are going to be overlapped. So you just want to keep that in mind. But if you're sort of tired of writing about yourself as it relates to the cause and effect essay 3, and if you want to go out and sort of pick a different topic, this is one way you can do it. What I would strongly suggest, though, if you do decide to do a different topic that doesn't really relate around you as the cause and effect deal, please email me and let me know what you just are deciding to do, so I can make sure that you're going to have enough to cover in 4 pages, that you're not going to get yourself bogged down and get to the end of page 2 and don't know where else to turn to or go, because that's frustrating when you think you picked a really good topic, and when you start writing it and realize by the time you get to page 1 or page 2, I'm going to run out of information. I'm not going to have enough to give me 1,000 words or 4 pages or whatever the directions say. Because then you just wasted all that time. It's frustrating, because you don't want to have a bunch of fluff or a bunch of BS in there. It's easy to sort of tell what's fluff and what's BS, really. It's a waste of time for you to write. It's a waste of time for me to read and grade at that point. So if you do choose a different, cause and effect essay topic from one of these websites, just let me know before you really get started. That way we can avoid you can avoid a lot of headaches as it gets closer to the October 14th deadline. That's really it right now. I mean, as it relates to this particular topic. Again, you might want to take a couple days this week and just sort of brainstorm. If you want to, again, kind of relate it to your life, right? Thinking about a cause and a reaction, an action and an effect. That's fine. You got a little bit of time to brainstorm. And then just, send me drafts, send smart thinking drafts. As many drafts as you can send to us, the better the paper should be, because when I send them back, you should be able to download the paper, and in the right side of your paper in the margins, you're going to see comments. Those comments are basically what you need to fix. You fix what I put in those comments. The comments should go away from one draft to the next, which shows that your writing is improving. And in a lot of ways, I'm sort of doing an informal grade at that point. So if you download that paper and let's say you have 50 comments, well, had you turned that paper in as your final draft, that would have been 100 minus 50, because you had 50 comments, it would have been a 50. That's why you have nearly 2.5, 3 weeks with some of these assignments, because I want those comments to disappear for you. I want you to get the highest and best possible grade. So with each passing draft, you should see those comments get shorter or smaller or less. And that's telling you that, hey, you're improving here. The grade should get a little bit higher. Be careful about when you're uploading your paper into the Dropbox. Some folks have been uploading drafts that I looked at, a couple days or a week or so ago, and it just doesn't look like they fixed anything. At that point, you're sort of SOL, because I gave you the tools, told you what you needed to fix. If you don't go back and fix it, then the grade is going to be what the grade is. A lot of folks had a potential to get an A or a B on essay 1 and essay 2, and for whatever reason they just neglected to fix the comments, or didn't send me enough drafts to get help, and the grade sort of didn't improve. It sort of just stayed the same as their peer review rough drafts were. So make sure that you're downloading those drafts when I'm sending them back, because they're going to your Coastal Pines student email. You may have to check the various folders. They may not be going into your direct inbox. They may be going to your junk mail, or depending on how you have it set up, they may be going to another folder. But when I send them from Blackboard, they're going to your email, because I get a copy of the same stuff that I just sent you. So I know they're going. Otherwise, I wouldn't be getting the same copy. So just be mindful of that. I'm here to help. I want to help. If you got to send 10 drafts to get the A, then it takes 10 drafts for you to get the A. I'm here to help you. But some folks need to, kind of meet me 50% there, meet me halfway. I can only do so much. I can't write the paper for you. But I can obviously give you hints. I can give you suggestions. I can tell you what you need to fix, what you need to take out, what you don't need to fix. And that's by sending me drafts. I'm not going to catch everything the first time around. Smart thinking is not going to catch everything the first time around. That's why I say multiple drafts are usually the key here. Over time, we hope that as you are learning to sort of proofread and edit, spell check and grammar check your own work, that you may not need to send in multiple drafts. You may only need to do a couple to reach that particular result that you want. So just, be mindful of that. I do have in-person tutoring sessions, if that would be a little easier for some folks. Granted, I do know a lot of folks are scattered out because it is an internet class, online class, but my tutoring sessions in person are at the Camden campus library Monday and Wednesday from 10:15 to 11:15. So if you want to show up for something in person, if you want to do both in person and the virtual, that's fine too. Again, I'm here. I'm willing to help. I just need to know when you need the help, because I can't read minds. I just assume that since, I'm not getting any emails or nobody's showing up for any of these virtual or in-person tutoring sessions, that everybody knows what they're doing. And, when I send drafts back with, stuff for you to correct, I'm just assuming you know what to do and how to go about correcting them. If not, then we need to address that before, I can do a lot before it's time for me to sit down and actually grade something. When I have to sit down and grade it, and then you come to me and say, well, I really didn't understand essay 3. Well, I'm giving you 21 days to get help. And when you don't get help until day 22, when the thing is already passed and due, and I already graded yours, and that's a little bit too late. So everybody has the same amount of time to get the help. It's just up to you whether you want the help or not. If you do, great. I'm here to help you. If you don't, great too, I guess. Just know where your grade's going to be. It may not be up there with the A or the B then. The tutoring is, and the drafting really are optional, but there are, I would strongly and wisely suggest that you send as many drafts as humanly possible, especially as we get into the research aspect of the course, which will happen, like I said, the last part of October, the beginning of November and stuff. So it's a big chunk of your grade. Otherwise, I think I've sort of rambled enough. I will sort of kind of end it there. Again, I'm going to send out some stuff for the virtual tutoring session that we're going to have tomorrow. And I look forward for folks to show up for that. If you need help, if you can show up, I realize schedules are a little bit different. I generally try to record those if there's a lot of folks that, join and ask questions, because they probably have the same questions you may have. So if you can make it, great. If not, if there's a lot of people there, I will record it, and then you can I'll upload it and you can play it back. Any questions? I see Willie's here. I don't know if Willie, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All righty. Well, I'm glad that this was really I was just trying to make a lecture. I didn't really invite anybody, but that's great that you showed up. So, I mean, if you have any questions, great. I'm here to help you out. If not, I'm going to sort of wrap this thing up and get ready to send out the stuff for the virtual tutoring stuff.
No questions. I'm okay.
All right, good. And like I said, I plan on getting a little bit more of the essays in this class graded between now and I hope by the end of the week. If not, definitely by this time next week, if not sooner. I will get this particular lecture uploaded here momentarily as well, in case you came in a little later. If you want to go back and kind of listen or watch what I did, that will be up there before I leave today at 6 as well.
Okay, sounds good to me.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I hope you have a great Monday and a great Tuesday.
Same to you.
Thanks.